Welcome to the Health, Wealth, and Wisdom Summit, Parents Edition. Your host for this session is Jackie Bailey. Jackie is the creator of Speak, Feed, Lead, a nonprofit helping adults and youth take the stage. She's got another amazing guest coming right up. Take it away, Jackie.
Thank you so much. Yes, I am Jackie Bailey, and I am delighted when people have opportunity to use their voice and share their message with the world. And our next guest here is one of those people who is a big part of my heart because his mission and my mission gel a little bit. We really want to see children and teenagers to be empowered. And so today I have with me Travail C.W. Lynch. The title of his presentation today is Gettin' Teens to Talk. And I think he's going to tell us a little bit about what the Z on the end of that means. But Travail Lynch is a husband. He's a father, a pastor, an author, a personal trainer, certified life coach, podcast host, and founder of I Am the Possible, a self-development company committed to showing at-risk youth and young adult men how to use their perspective to unlock their potential. And today he's going to be sharing his story with us. Travail, it is more than wonderful to have you here. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Thank you so much. And it is such an honor and a blessing to be here. To everyone that's joining, whether you're watching this live or on the replay, thank you so much for your presence. I always like to say your presence is the greatest present that you could ever give us. So thank you so much for showing up and taking time to invest in yourself. That's the reason that we're here, to share value and to share things that, can help you to be a better parent, to be a better person in general. So thank you so much for showing up today. A little bit about myself. My story, I am the rags to riches story. Grew up with no father. Mother was addicted to crack cocaine and alcohol. I lived with my grandmother, latchkey kid, abused sexually throughout all of my formative years, constantly bullied and picked on because at the age of 7, I began to stutter. At the age of 7, I also, became as they call it, a fat kid. So I picked up a lot of weight. And so I was constantly abused and misused and mistreated, rejected most of all of my formative years, all the way through junior high up into high school. And because of the abuse that I suffered and the environment, and we'll be talking about that some today, that I grew up in, I became very silent. I kept everything to myself. I didn't share with anyone because I didn't feel safe. I didn't feel safe sharing it with anyone because I was being abused and, molested by my own family members. And so I didn't have an outlet to express myself or to share what was really on my heart or on my mind, because everywhere I turned as a young person, I felt rejected and not accepted into the various circles and relationships that I was a part of. And so being able to express oneself, being able to be a part of an environment that we would consider safe, having people around us that bring an energy that says, I love you and that I accept you, that is very near and dear to my heart. And so that was my past. Today, by God's grace and mercy, and through the acceptance of God, I have been fortunate enough to be married to a wonderful woman for 22 years, together with her for 24 years. And we, by the grace of God, and by mentors in our lives, have been able to raise 4 amazing children, 3 adults and 1 about to be adult. He is a senior in high school. And so we have great relationships with our children, very open, very honest, very consistent lines of communication, lines of connection, lines of community, even within our own home. And so it is my passion to help other parents to create such a culture within their homes, because I see so many, and I grew up in an environment that is so ripped apart by
Mhm.
drugs and alcohol. And so that's a little bit about my story, Jackie. And that's really why I'm passionate about doing what I do.
Well, and my heart is touched with your story, and there's a couple of things that I think about. Number one, when you hear a story like that, my first thought is, oh my gosh, how does someone survive that?
Mhm.
And it's if you're like me with a
Mhm.
similar experience to yours, once you get into adulthood and you've had a few years of experience on you, you start to realize, as awful as that was, it made me who I am. It gave
Yes.
me the passion that I have today.
Yeah.
And it now gives me a mission to change the world in any way that I can. And the second thing I think of is
Mhm.
people like us have to find the right person who's going to support us and be there for us and accommodate maybe our little idiosyncrasies and some of the
Right.
attitudes that we've grown up with that we're trying to change, right? From the
Right.
negative to the positive. So I just want to tell you that my heart goes out to you. I wish I could hug you
Mhm.
right now. And so thank you so much for
Mhm.
what you're doing today.
Thank
So
you.
why should parents worry about this? I mean, let's consider that statistics would say there's a lot of kids living in similar situations to you. And unfortunately, there might even be some parents today who have either experienced that as children or might be experiencing some of that in their own homes. So, why should we care about what's happening to our
Mhm.
kids? Why is it important?
Yeah, well, it's important as parents, I believe, because and really why I entitled today's talk, getting teens to talk, is because I find as a parent, and I'm sure if anyone's watching, you can identify with this, when there's a lack of communication, when there's a lack of conversations, we feel as parents there's a lack of connection. And whenever
Mm,
there's a lack of connection, we feel the presence of danger. Where are my kids going? What are they getting into? Who are they around? And so for my own personal life, which I take a lot of, information from, and that's really how I craft a lot of my programs and my messages, is because of the things that I've lived through. But one of the reasons that a parent wants to be concerned is because when there's not healthy conversations and connections being cultivated within the home, at least in my life, I found outlets. And what I find about children is that children are very resourceful. They're going
mm,
to find an outlet. Now, for example, my family and I, every Sunday, we get around in a circle and we create a safe space where there's no judgment, there's no down talking, there's no trying to change and force someone to be a certain way. We just create a space of openness and honesty, and we support each other, we pray for each other. And we think it's important to just create that so that they always have a place where they can filter and they can really, put things on the table to get that advice from myself, and from my wife. But because I didn't have that, I think I shared this story with you, Jackie, when I was on your radio show. At the age of 20, because I had become so worthless in my own heart, so worthless in my own mind, that after purchasing a bag of marijuana, like an ounce of marijuana, cost me like $120. I was set up for a robbery, and I was sitting in the back seat of a car, and two gentlemen, one came from the front seat. And he put a gun to the front of my face, and there was another guy that came from the side of the car, and he put the gun through the window, and he put the gun up to the side of my head. And what was really profound about this moment was all they wanted was the $120, right? The $120 bag of weed. And so that was the environment that I grew up in, that people were so desperate and so ruthless that they would threaten my life for something so worthless and so minimal. But the more profound thing is that he asked me to give him that weed, and I won't share exactly what he said, but kind of keep it PG here, right? But he said to give
family
me
friendly, right?
family friendly, right? Yeah. But he said to give me what you got. And he asked me 3 times, and I told him no 3 times. And on the third time, the guy with the gun to my temple, he pulled the trigger. And I heard the hammer drop back and the pin drop in the chamber, but the bullet never dislodged from the gun. And when I always, when I think about that story, not only was I putting myself in such situations because I didn't have healthy outlets, because I was running the streets, I was running with gangs, I was robbing, I was stealing, I was selling drugs, using drugs, I was misusing myself. And I found myself at this turning point where not only was he willing to kill me, but what was more profound when I look back at that story, Jackie, is that I was willing to die for $120.
Yeah.
At the age of 20, I was willing to sit in the backseat of a car and have my head blown off, murdered midday, because I didn't have a healthy outlet. I didn't have mentors and people that I could go to. I didn't have a father that I could look up to at that time. I didn't have a mother. I didn't have parents and people that loved me and accepted me to say, hey, what are you going through? What are those challenges? How can we help you through those things? And so we're going to find a way to express ourselves and to kind of get that stuff out of us. And it normally puts us in very, very dangerous situations. So I think parents should care, because if you don't want your child to go down that path, you have a great opportunity within your own home to create a culture and to teach life lessons, so that they don't have to go down that path.
Yeah. Well, so why don't parents talk to their kids more? What keeps them from having those open conversations like you seem to have developed in your own family?
Mm-hmm.
We don't set aside time to do that. Why do you think that is?
Well, I definitely think because of our today's society and culture, the on the go hustle, grind, succeed, success, achieve, get mine. And there is a lot of just overall mental health challenges and stressors that are just pulling at us and ripping at the family's, threads. But I think for most parents, if your situation isn't, dire and really, really, traumatic, maybe on a very basic surface level, where I find most parents is that the child, they're going through a transition, and the transition is what I call the teens tunnel vision. They've got two things on their mind, Jackie. They've got identity and independence. And so as they're in that formative year, they're listen, they're not even conscious of it, but they're floating away for good reason. They're trying to establish, this is who I am in the world, and these are the feet in which I stand on. But in that process, they're pulling away from us, and they're not necessarily needing us as much. Yeah. And so because they're going their own way, and we're still caught up in the grind of being a parent and, being that breadwinner, the two worlds start to kind of drift. Right. Yeah. And so I think a lot of it is just natural drifting, because children have an internal agenda that they're not aware of. And most parents haven't done enough research themselves to understand, hey, my child's brain is forming, and they're forming towards independence and identity, which need to detach from me so that they can be their own person. So I think a lot of it is just natural. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting that you use the metaphor of drifting away, and my mind envisioned parents in one little boat and our children in another little boat of their own, and yet it's tethered together with this rope or something like that, where we can give them some independence, but still be there to direct them through those whitewater rapids, right, when we hit them. So what are some suggestions that you can give to parents that will, as you say, open that communication so that they don't have to be adrift without mentorship, but also have a little bit of identification on their own, where they feel like they can be part of their own growing without all the rules and regulations? What are some suggestions you might have?
Yeah, well, I have a little template that I like to share with people. It's my little 3 E's. I haven't come up with a fancy name for it yet, but it just involves 3 E's, right? Same letter, very easy to remember. And that is: be the example, build the environment, and bring the energy. And it's all based around the concept of, as a parent, I am a model, a blueprint, a template of what I desire and envision my child to be. I like to say, if they can't see it, they can't be it. So they're looking at us by default, right? They're looking at us, right? I like to say that the home is a culture in and of itself, and it really creates the first church, first line of spirituality, first classroom. They get to learn things from you, and it's the first community, right? The home is a community. You learn interpersonal skills within the home. And so if a parent takes on the mindset and the agenda of, I'm the blueprint, I'm the model, I'm the example of what I envision my child to be, then we're going to be that much more conscious, that much more aware, that much more aligned, that much more tuned in to being for them what we desire to see in them. And I think that's really where it all starts. It's, as a parent, when I wake up, what is my agenda as it concerns my child? Am I there to be a tyrant, to be a drill sergeant, to make them and break them, to shape and mold them? Or are we there to simply be a model of the greatest virtues that we desire for them to then replicate, right? One of my mentors once told me, they said, you can teach what you know, but you'll only reproduce what you are.
Ah, love that.
And I think a lot of parents want to teach. You need to do this. You need to do that, right? We grew up, at least I did. I grew up in the generation of do as I say, not as I do. Yeah. And Gen Z and millennials, they ain't having that.
Yeah.
If they don't see it in you, they ain't listening. So yeah, the whole do as I say as I, not as I do methodology to parenting it won't cut it with these new generations. Yeah.
Well, now, as you became a parent for the first time, and yet you have all this baggage with negative relationship examples behind you, was it challenging for you to become that parent you wanted to be? And did you have to learn along the way, or did you feel like, man, I've learned my lessons, I know exactly what I want? How did it happen for you?
It was a great mixture. I think that my relationship with God really orchestrated everything, because I come from once I went to jail and I was facing 15 years for grand theft, which I did the crime. But by God's grace and miraculous power in my life, we got that all turned around, and my record was expunged, and I never had to do that time. But it was in that process of coming into a relationship with God that I began to look at the life of Jesus as an example of life. So Jesus, he literally just became my template. So I said, okay, well, what is it that he does? How does he interact with people? How does he interact with this person, that person? What is his mindset? And Jackie, I literally fell in love with the God that always loved me. And I just looked at his life as a model. And I said, whatever he does, that's what I'll do. Not easy, not at all. But it at least gave me a template. And then from there, just, always being surrounded by so many great mentors really made the difference. And so whenever I had a challenge, I never kept it in my own mind. I never said, oh, well, I'm the parent, I know what I'm doing. I always ran things by the trusted mentors that I was fortunate enough to just begin to accumulate right away in my parenting journey. So never kept it to myself.
Yeah, well, I commend you for that. And like you say, you did find your guidance. You didn't have it as in parents, but you had it in God. Yes. And that's amazing. We want to continue this discussion, but I want to remind everyone that's listening and it's in the audience today that if you want to hear more wonderful speakers like Travail, then you've got to buy the VIP, because you're missing them right now. We're hearing a wonderful speaker, but you're missing a few others. So upgrade to the VIP so that you can hear everyone. Make sure that you join us at 1 p.m. Pacific for our panel discussion, where you will get to learn from several experts in one sitting. That will be fun. And Travail, so you've mentioned the first thing is example, and then the next is environment. How do we as parents create an environment where our children can grow?
Yeah. So with the environment, it's always, looking at um what is going to create the atmosphere, or what's going to create the outcome that I desire. So for example, let's say a parent had a birthday party, and we're going to rent out a hall, and we're going to have this 30th, you know, 30th year birthday party. You would go to, at least here in Southern California, you would go to Party City, and you would buy balloons and streamers and hats and candles, and you get a birthday cake, and you get all these things to put into this space to create an environment that is conducive to the outcome that you desire. So I just look at our home and say, what are the elements? What are the things that I'm going to decorate my home with that's going to regulate my child, put them in the best mental space, put them in the best spiritual space? What's going to keep them calm when life gets really rocky, right? And so things such as, if they love pets, pets are wonderful things to have if you are a pet family. They come home, they play with the pets, right? They interact with the pets. Something else I do, I play jazz music throughout the day. Because I'm a Christian, I might put on, a sermon or something like that, so that you can just hear it in the atmosphere. I choose, and we've chosen our actual neighborhoods very strategically. We don't just move anywhere. We literally research, where is it that we're going to move our family? What's the best street? What's the best situation? Are there parks nearby? Are there libraries nearby? Are the people nice? I mean, do the research to literally position yourself in a community of people that are going to love and accept you, and create that calm. So even things like that. So it's really just kind of taking a step back and saying, my house and my neighborhood, what is the ideal situation? Now, as a parent, based on income, you may not be able to afford all those things, but you can do the smallest things, and just do them consistently. And then through your own personal example, again, that just helps add to that environment. So when you come home from work, take 5 minutes before you get out the car. Are you angry because the boss made you mad? Did you catch a flat tire on the way home? Right, life happens. But take 5 minutes before you go into the home. How do I want to show up for my child? Because again, their feeling, which actually leads us into the last one, which is energy, that leads them. If dad's always grumpy and slamming stuff and angry, that triggers them, and that sets them off, and that conditions them. So all of those ideas, and you can just run with it, let your imagination run wild, but you're basically decorating your home, and you're very strategic about where you live. That's going to create the environment that's going to regulate your child.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you're right. I mean, even the smallest, most humble dwellings can feel beautiful inside. They can feel love inside. And when you started to talk about energy, I remember an old saying that went, if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy.
Yes.
Right?
You're
Because
right.
because the mother, or it can be extended to the father as well, the parents in the home,
Yeah.
their energy creates and sets the tone for the rest of the energy of the family. So it is very important that when you walk through that door, you've got to be in a positive mindset if you want kids to be happy as well.
Yeah.
So we've got just about a minute left, and I don't want to miss the opportunity for you to share your gift with our audience today, and how they get in touch with you. So maybe you could touch on energy really quickly, and then tell us about your gift and how people can find you.
Okay, sure. So for energy, energy is just simply intention. With your conversations, with your questions, with your, basically think about it like this: invest, don't interrogate. If you stick to those two things, invest in your child, don't interrogate them. So if you're always looking to improve them, add value to them, you'll be just fine when it comes to energy. And then that takes us to the free gift, which I go into extensive teaching around all three of these in that free gift, which is a free masterclass. It's called Teen Talks, and it's all about creating conversations and real connections with your teens. And so I really walk parents through what I have 15 talk tools Think of them just like tools. And each one of them, I walk you through live. I answer, questions, Q&A, and we really drill down into each of these talk tools. And they're really in place for you to construct a healthy, productive conversation and a healthy connection with your teenager. So that's the free gift.
That's fabulous. Oh, that has so much value to it. Thank you so much for offering that at no cost, because you're going to change lives with that. You're going to change so many lives with that. Absolutely.
Yes. Not a recording.
Yeah. So one last thing, if they click on that link, are they going to also find ways to contact you? Or is there or you want to give us a website or something and tell us how to find your books too? Because I know you've got some books.
Okay, sure. Yes. If you click on the link, you will be taken to a sub page within my website. So overall, the website will still be available to you through that link. But the website is iamthepossible.com. You can see it here on my shirt. So if you tap into I Am the Possible, you'll find everything that you need.
Perfect. Yeah. Well, Tre'vell, I am so happy and grateful that I got to talk with you today and that you've made such an impact and a difference in those that are listening. So thanks for all you do. Thanks for being willing to share your story. And thanks for all of the families that you are affecting. With that, everyone, please stick around for another session on the Health, Wealth, and Wisdom Summit Parents Edition. And we'll look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you for joining us for another amazing session from the Health, Wealth, Wisdom Parents Edition Summit. For recordings of all sessions, plus an amazing VIP bundle, upgrade to VIP now. If you run into any problems during the summit, email our support team at admin@rolemodelmaker.com. Stay tuned. We have another fantastic guest coming right up.